Now we're going to be doing Parashat Acharei and Kedoshim, two Parashiyot this year. In Parashat Acharei, at the very beginning, the Torah tells us about Acharei mot shnei bnei Aharon, the two children of Aharon brought a foreign or strange fire, a fire that they were not asked to bring. In other words, they brought something on their own. As a result of doing something on their own without following correct instructions, they died. They died through fire as well. So the question is, what happened to them? What does it mean two children of Aharon died as a result of a fire, a strange fire? What does it mean, strange fire? As you know, one of the miracles of Hamikdash was that the fire would come down and consume the korbanot by itself. So here, they were bringing their own fire, like they would want to help out. And Hashem did not want that because it should be obvious that this is a miracle with no human interaction. So why did they think on their own to bring? Obviously, they had their own kavanot. They wanted to be a part. They didn't feel anything to be wrong bringing a little bit. After all, many things that is proper, it's okay to have some ishtadlut, some effort. And then Hashem blesses and Hashem does the rest. The problem with this attitude is that throughout history, many people thought the same. It's okay for me to do something even though I wasn't told to do it. It's okay for me to change something that's written in the Torah as long as my intentions are for good kavanot. Not that they didn't mean any harm. But the problem with all these good kavanot, these good intentions, that if it's contrary to the Torah, or if it's something that the Torah does not instruct, you're running a risk of doing something that in the long term, later on, will have an effect counter to what the Torah wanted. Even people like Mendelssohn and all those who began the reform movement, their intentions at the very beginning was they didn't realize that their children eventually will leave Judaism and will become Christians. But what then? They wanted to reform, make it a little bit more palatable. What was going on there? No, that was a time of illumination, right? That we have to adapt the Torah to the times instead of adapt the times. It was, let's make some compromise. Let's try to get the Germans, the Gentiles, to accept us. So what are we going to do? We're going to do something that the Torah does not tell us to do, but it's not exactly in the Torah either, because after all, our kavanah is to enforce it. To be Jews, of course, to be able to, to handle the anti-Semitism at the same time perform Torah mitzvot. But of course, they didn't realize that they were doing something very dangerous, and that is moving away from what the Torah instructed us. And this is similarly the idea over here, that they did something they were not. You're doing something you're not asked to, that you're running the risk of something wrong. The rabbis in the Midrash give us additional reasons of why the children of Aharon died. One opinion is shehuru halakha, is a halakha, a ruling, a halakha. You're not allowed to give an opinion, a halakha in front of your rabbi. In other words, the rabbi who has taught you the Torah, it's disrespectful. In front of him, give a ruling or a halakha. He's there. He should be scared, not you. Yeah. Others say that the reason why they got killed is because they never wanted to get married. Others say because they entered Mikdash. So various reasons are given. In reality, the reason why all these reasons or additional reasons are given is because there's always something that's called the straw that broke the camel's back. There could have been some major reasons, but all it took was one more minor reason to bring out the accusation. Each one of the ones that I just mentioned, drunk or not having gotten married, perhaps giving in a halachic opinion around it, that by itself maybe would not have done it. After all, they had zechuyot, they had a lot of marriage who would say, when somebody does something wrong, that by itself may not be bad enough to bring out the wrath, the anger, or for that to be made. But when there's a whole record, then you have this one more detail. They don't want to get married. Oh, they don't want to get this extra weight on their back of accusation. And that may have been what they, when we hear that these are the reasons, it doesn't mean that these have contributed as well to their early passing of the children. Parashat Acharei deals with partially the Avodah of Yom Kippur. It was a major job, Kohen Gadol, for others, to be involved in the Avodah of Yom Kippur. What is going on, the Avodah of Yom Kippur? Part of what is going on is that we are trying to do something called kapara. And that should not be confused with something called selicha and nechila. They're very different. When we ask or when we get selicha and nechila from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, all it is a postponement or delay. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mochel, soleach, seder, I won't do anything about it. You showed remorse, you regret it, you feel bad about it? Okay, I'm not going to do anything about it now. I'm not going to punish you. Because I see your heart broken about it. You feel ashamed. You regret it. Good. Hopefully you won't repeat it. Kapara, however, is much trickier. Because every avon, sin, whether it was b'mezid or b'shgaga, intentionally or unintentionally, leaves a scar or a stain, a blemish on the neshama. Kapara means removing it, cleaning it. That's what Gehenom, by the way, is all about. Cleaning the neshama. The neshama wants to be clean because upstairs it sees that it's still dirty. ashamed. So it asks to go into Gehenna or to come back to Gilgul. Kapara therefore means removing any stain. The sin, there's no more record in the court. You know how people who committed a crime, there's a record, there's a file. Even though they're not going to do anything about it, they're not going to put them in prison. It's still there. It can come back up. You know, like, TRW. Or like with felonies. They ask you, many times when you fill out a paper, did you ever commit a felony? Anything on record? Yes, you have to explain what. So we don't want anything on our record. These records are no good. You want to get married, you want parnasa, you don't want anything bad on your record, on your credit, like you said. So that's what kapara is all about. Yom Kippurim, we're trying to achieve kapara. And Yom Kippurim does help in the kapara, in the atonement of certain things, certain sins. But during the year, we're able to achieve the liyah. And that is something that we need to do regardless. The same thing happens, by the way, in the Yom HaChuppah, the day one gets married. Hatan ve'Kalala is a very special moment. Not only is it a happy moment, it is also a time that the avonot, Hashem forgives them, gives them a second chance. Until now you were half. You were all by yourself. Now you're married. Two heads are better than one. You'll have more power. You'll build a Jewish home. You're more mature. So I'm giving you a second. You're beginning a new day in your life. So Yom HaChuppah is like Yom Kippurim, and that is why some people have the custom to say Vidui. It's a very special time, and it's an opportunity for one to begin from scratch. On condition, of course, that he does Teshuvah. Hashem says, no, I'm going to forgive you regardless. No. If one's attitude is, I'm going to continue to be what I always was, then there's no mechila. So Hashem knows that we make mistakes, we're only human, and He's willing to give us a chance as long as we're sincere. So, mechilat avonot, kaparat avonot was a very important part of the avodah of Yom Kippurim. However, the Kohen, before he can atone for the rest, he would have to be v'chiper ba'ado u've'ad beto. First, it has to be v'chiper ba'ado. He has to ask for forgiveness. Only then could he ask for others. How could somebody come and ask forgiveness? Hashem, please forgive Am Yisrael. He himself is dirty. Take care of yourself first. Like there is a saying, Mum shebecha al tomar lechavercha. If somebody has a defect, a characteristic defect, he shouldn't tell others that they have this problem. If he himself has it, he's not effective. One cannot be effective rebuking musar if he has the same problem. Don't get angry. He himself always gets angry. Why are you so stingy? He himself is mine, right? So the Kohen Gadol would first have to clean up his house before he can clean up or ask for the kapara of Am Yisrael. Part of the process of kapara involves vidui, and we spoke a little bit about it when we talked about korban. One of the most important steps and conditions in bringing a sacrifice is litvadot, confess, I did this, I'm sorry. Without this, it's worthless because the animal is symbolic. Vidui is the community. First of all, vidui helps the person visualize what he did. He's talking about it. And once you begin to talk about it, you think about it, you feel bad about it. This is what I did, I'm sorry. So talking about something is important. Besides the communication that one has with Hashem, which is what they did, forgiveness. Besides that, it helps him in the process of true kapara because he's visualizing what he did. He's talking about it. He's spending time. He's not just reacting. He's taking the time to think about it and to commit himself that he won't do it again. That's what Vidu is all about. Now, the fast, other fasts, the fast humbles one's heart. In the same way, like the vidui is preparing him mentally, the fast prepares one physically. If one is comfortable eating steak, could he do real teshuvah, smoking a cigarette, chewing? He's not going to think about that. The fast allows one to get into the mood, the right mindset. It weakens physically, he's able to think about this. Same thing with vidui. So when one talks about it, and when one does all the things that the Kohen, he would prepare him, he would put him in the right mindset, and he was able to think about their atonement. Next point in Parashat Acharei. The Torah says, "Uvechukotehem lo telechu." I'm bringing you now to Eretz Israel. Don't follow the deeds and the behavior of the people living in Canaan. Lo ta'asu. You should not do what they have done. Uvechukotehem lo telechu. And don't follow in their footsteps. What is the Torah trying to tell us? The Torah is telling us a very important point. Believe it or not, there's a tremendous amount from one's surroundings. Not everybody is strong to resist, influence, the pressures of society. A lot of people succumb to these pressures. And there's pressures and influences all around, all the time. So the Torah has to warn us. Listen, I'm bringing you to a place called Eretz Canaan. These guys are corrupt. They're lowlife. They're the worst. Be careful. Don't associate with them. Don't live amongst them. Don't live with them. Stay away from them. And eventually the Torah will tell us, throw them out. You don't want to be amongst them. If you leave them around you, if you will be with them, if you be too close to them, you marry them, you're going to learn from them, you will become like them. Torah does not want us to become like them. On the contrary, the Torah wants us to stay away from all these people. So we should not learn from their ways. Because we have a code, a set of rules. The only way we can guarantee that we're going to keep these rules is if we don't have all these people bothering us. Why are you guys so different? What do you dress like this for? Why don't you come, let's go eat together, let's have a drink. This is how people assimilate. They get too close for comfort. And they start learning what happens tomorrow. Why don't you have your son marry my daughter? Wouldn't it be a nice idea? They look so good together. Some people cannot resist the pressure. So the Torah has to warn us. And the Torah warns us several times. Don't go in their ways, because you're going to assimilate. I don't want you to learn from them. In order for you to be able to do the Torah, mitzvot that I'm asking, you can't afford being around them. If you learn from them, you won't want to do the mitzvot. It's going to be a contradiction. The Torah uses the word here, lo telechu. Don't go. Why does it use the word to go instead of using how don't? It says don't go. Going is similar to habits. What are habits? One does it a lot. Some English call that hergel. Hergel comes regel, to walk. You do it a lot, you walk in it, then eventually it becomes your second nature. Lo telechu, don't do it, don't walk in it, don't do it, it will become a habit. And then the other way around too. If one learns to stay away from these things at all costs, then that becomes him. He becomes allergic to goyim. I don't want to say it that way because a lot of nice things do. But he becomes allergic to the bad ways. He doesn't become tempted by it. A movie, become tempted. They're tempted, they want to sit down, maybe tomorrow they'll go to a movie theater. After that, who knows what. So don't walk in those ways. Stay away. Continually stay away, so you won't form these bad habits that are difficult later on to break. Lo telechu, don't walk in these. Lo telechu could also mean something. I remember asking Rabbi Elyahu Kin, Rabbi, what's your idea of how to best instill? Teenagers is a very difficult stage. What should we do with them? The rabbi said something to keep them busy. Keep them busy with good things. Then they won't have time to think about all these things all these shtuyot, all this nonsense. Lalechet means to be occupied, to go, but to go with good things, to participate in classes. One who occupies himself and gets into the habit of doing good things, he won't have time for bad things. Then the Torah tells us, "Ushmartem et chokotam et mishpatam sheyaseh otam ha'adam v'chai bahem." Do the mitzvot through which you will live. By doing the mitzvot, you will live. So the Chafetz Chaim says something beautiful. Chafetz Chaim says, imagine a limb, a foot, a hand. If you tie a string on it very, very tight, what you're doing is stopping the blood flow. And you eventually kill that particular limb. Every limb has nourishment. They all need blood. There's blood cells there. If you cut that nourishment, you stop it. Then you're starving it. You're killing it. And every ever in the body nourishes from some mitzvah in the Torah. If a Jew does not fulfill that mitzvah, he's starving that ever from its spiritual nourishment. Now let's just imagine if that ever is important ever in the body, the heart. If you starve it, then you're killing the person. Because that's ever shachaim tluyin bo. That's an ever, a limb, an organ, that life depends. It's not just a foot or finger. It's an entire life depends on that ever. So if you feed that heart or that brain, you're going to starve it from ruchaniut, from spirituality. If you deprive it of what it needs, it's like you're starving it. It's like you're killing it. The person is going to want to do all sorts of things. Shtuyot, havalim. Every single ever, every single one gives some nerve, some koach, some energy from the mitzvot. We don't know exactly every single ever which mitzvot. We have ideas. For example, we do know that it's important to do the mitzvah of tzedakah with your hands and with your... There was once a rabbi who appeared in a dream to a student of his. This rabbi was a very righteous person. He studied a lot of Torah. He fulfilled mitzvot. He did everything. The rabbi appears to his student in the dream. The student in the dream sees that the rabbi is radiating. Looks great, but his feet are bare. But he noticed that the rabbi's feet were bare. The rabbi was very uncomfortable. And the student asked the rabbi in the dream, what happened? The entire body is clothed beautifully, but your feet are bare. He said, I did all the mitzvot except for one. I never went to collect tzedakah. I never walked with my feet to do this. I was always ashamed. I was embarrassed. So it was hard for me. I would give money myself. But to ask others to give, to collect, that was difficult. So I'm missing that tikkun. He did not get all this from that particular area, from that mitzvah. Yeah. Yeah, because of the 200. And yeah. What?
You have to say Hashem.
Yeah, to complete the three words.
At the beginning of our idea, you should alone and say El Melech.
Then you say El Melech. That's completely 3 words.
So you have to.
You should. There is machloket, an argument between the philosophers. The philosophers claim that it would be best for a person to be born with a bad nature, so that he should learn to overcome it, and he will receive reward for it. The Rambam says ideally it's best the person to be born with a good, not with a bad nature, because it will be easier for him to fulfill the mitzvot. And there's commentaries that discuss what the difference is, these two opinions. There's no doubt that the Rambam in reality, ideally, it would be best if a person is born with a good, that he has good inclinations. It would be easier for him to do this. What the philosophers are saying is also true, that if one already has a bad nature, his reward would be greater. But ideally, what would we prefer to have? Somebody with a good nature. And even the one with a good nature, he works on it to improve himself even more. He will also go higher. Because everything depends according to the effort invested. The more effort is invested to conquer a bad trait or to perform a mitzvah, it's very difficult. The more reward there will be. I'm reminded by a story with the Chafetz Chaim. There was once a soldier, a Jewish soldier who was far away from Judaism because he was in the Russian army. And the Chafetz Chaim went in the same room where the young man was staying. The young man was drinking without making any berachot. So the Chafetz Chaim wanted to go over to him, and they warned him, don't make him upset. He can become violent. But the Chafetz Chaim went over and told this individual, I heard you were in the Russian army 20 years. I envy you. After 20 years being in the Russian Tsar's army, you have not forgotten that you're Jewish. You are better than all of us in this room, he said. For you have had so many challenges. So the guy's looking at the Chafetz Chaim in amazement. He was thinking he's going to yell at him. And the Chafetz Chaim continues on to say, imagine how much greater you would be if you would also keep the mitzvot. This gentle words penetrated his heart, and he came about to Shuvah. In other words, we all have a spark. We all have the ability. We all have traits. We have experiences, but we have to work on it. And those that rebuke others have to be very gentle about it. It's not easy. And if we do it sincerely, with an open mind and gently, we have a better chance to succeed. The Torah tells us that if we do chas v'shalom, go in the ways of the goyim, then the land will vomit us. ותטמא הארץ ואת כל עוונה עליה ותקיא הארץ את יושביה. The Eretz Yisrael will vomit the inhabitants that do not follow in the wilderness. Why is this? Because Eretz Yisrael is a very delicate, very sensitive place. It's a holy land. It just doesn't tolerate everybody. That is why anybody who wants to settle in Eretz Yisrael is a chut in marriage. Otherwise you will have a difficult time. It's important to be idealistic, but it's important to be idealistic for the real reason. This is a special land, not because you want to be in kibbutz. If you are idealistic for the real reasons and one follows the Torah, his chances are better to survive all the problems that exist. It's not an easy place to live. But if one is worthy of it, he will be able to live. He won't have any. The land will not spit him out. The land vomits those that it's a special land. Okay, I think we can cover one more point in Parashat Acharei before we go to Kedoshim. Acharei and Kedoshim. Let us cover one more point in Parashat Acharei. As you know, Parashat Acharei does speak about arayot, the various forbidden marriages. And the reason why there's a big emphasis on this is not only is it a long list of the ones that we cannot be in a relationship with, it's also to teach us that man does have to control his tavot, his concerns. He has to learn to stay away from them. You know, people are tempted to go into all sorts of relationships, sometimes not because of true love, because of tavot. They have a desire. It's not a spiritual desire, it's an animal desire. So part of this is a lesson, an important lesson to control that. In order for us to become holier, in order for us to be close to us, one has to be controlled. So how does one do that? So I saw a beautiful mashal in the Magid of Dubna. It's important to learn, but that's not enough. It's important to do. Teshuvah is not only in the mind. Teshuvah requires action. Mashal ema davar domeh, to a farmer, or actually somebody who lived in the village, who was rarely in town. Whenever there was a fire in the village, a lot of damage on it. They didn't have the best. So he decided, I'm going to go to the sea, how they take it. Let me learn from them. Maybe I'll buy some of their. And sure enough, one day he hears A lot of bangs, people are banging in drums. And what's all of that? There's a fire in town. Soon it will be extinguished. Oh, great. Baruch Hashem. It's exactly what I wanted. What do? You whistle and you bang. Really? He went back to his village and he said, I just found a great way of... Next time we have a big fire, we're going to blow the whistle, we're going to bang in the drums. And there was a big fire. And that's what they did. Banging away. Blowing the whistle. And half the village burnt down. By the time half the village burned down, they decided to go back to their old method. Let's use buckets of water. And that is how they stayed. And they threw this guy out of town. The guy was upset. He went back to the city. What happened? They told him, what did you do? We blew whistles and we banged on the drums. You silly. The whistles and the drums is just to call the fireman and the fire engine. That does not extinguish it. When we talk and we say hatati hatati, that does not. That's just the whistle. It's like the shofar. That's to call us to do action. One needs to do action. He has to admit. He has to do ma'aseh to correct his way. Just by blowing the whistle, by shouting, by calling God, that's not enough. True teshuvah requires ma'aseh to prove the one. Okay, let's quickly go to Parashat Kedoshim. In Parashat Kedoshim, the Torah is telling us that one of the most important goals in Judaism, a very lofty goal, is to become holy. And why should you be holy? Because I'm holy. Now this holiness is not an easy of a lifetime. It requires many steps, and it does not happen overnight. But the Torah at least is telling us, look forward to this. Think about this. This is what you should want. A lot of people want to become movie stars. They want to be famous. They want to be like him and like that. The Torah says, you know what you should be? What should you want to be? Kedoshim. This is what you should want to be. They ask children, what do you want to be? Well, I want to be a lawyer, a doctor. No. I didn't ask you what you want for Parasha, for livelihood. I asked you what you want to be, what you want to make of yourself. You should say, Kadosh. This is what you should do. Now the Torah is going to tell us how to achieve. One of the steps to being Kadosh is what the Pasuk says right after that. Ish imo v'avitirao. Fear your parents. Honor them. Fear them. Why? What does Kibud Abayim have? Well, first of all, if one respects, one will respect. Do you know that if people really respected their father and mother, a couple of generations, they would never have become... If my father, and I respect him, I want to respect his religion. The fact that people stopped keeping Shabbat, they left the religion, shows that they have a lack of respect for their parents. So this is important. If you want to be strong, if you want to follow the tradition, respect, fear them. That's number one. Another important point, Kibud Avahim, if one respects his parents, what happens to that? When one respects, what he's saying is, I love my parents because of what they do for me. He's grateful. And that's why I show that. Through Ahavat HaHorim, through the love and respect of one's parents, one will be able to reach the Madriga, the level of Ahavat. Hashem therefore commands us with mitzvah of Kabet Tadicha Betimecha, so that should be a stepping stone of Be'afta et Hashem. How do you come to love Hashem, who takes care of all your needs? By paying attention to how your parents provide some of your needs. You love them, you respect them, you love Hashem. When you realize that He really is your Father and your Father too. He takes care of them. So all of these are steps to help formulate in the mind of the Jew what his priorities be, what he should look at, and how he should go about it. Another important point is what the same pasuk says, "Ve'shabbetotai tishmoru," and keep my Shabbat. Why Shabbat? Shabbat is the most powerful link between Ki ben you v'nechem. It's a sign between, even if one chaz v'shalom committed all sorts of avonot, if he keeps Shabbat, the Shabbat has the koach of bringing him back. It has the power to reconnect him with his religion. Shabbat is extremely powerful. If one drops Shabbat, he's dropped everything. If he's dropped many things, but he hasn't dropped Shabbat, he still has a chance. Exactly. So when a Baal Teshuvah is doing real Teshuvah, he should try to begin with Shabbat. Once he overcomes Shabbat, everything else will be easy. That Shabbat creates a tremendous connection between them. If that helps him, move along. It's an additional step of becoming Kadosh. Because Shabbat is Kadosh. Shabbat, being the seventh day, is holy. It has to, you feel different. The food tastes different. Whatever you learn is different than what you learn during the rest of the week. Right? You feel the Kedusha. So Shabbat is a time actually to take advantage, not just to sleep and take advantage. This is the time you have to with your family, for to spend time with Hashem. Shabbat is a stepping stone for one who wants to be. And that is why it's mentioned in the very beginning, right after the commandment of Kedoshim. Then the Torah says one more thing. You want to be Kadosh? Al tifnu el ha'elelim. You can't turn to other idols. You can't have too many interests. You can't love two people the same. Because your love has to be focused on one place. You can't say, I want to love Hashem, but I want to love this. It's impossible. It's a contradiction. You want to love Hashem, you want to be holy, you want to be attached to the Torah. Al tifnu elalim, don't go after all these shtuyot, all these idols. First of all, not only will it split you up, it will also remove you away from it. Let me tell you a story. I've mentioned it to you, but there was once an Israeli judo, one of the best in his time, in the 50s, I think. His name was Rabbi Elyahu Kin. I think it was Rabbi Elyahu Kin, one of the best. And he went all over the world. He was the top in this field. And as it has happened with many Israelis, after a while of getting all this money and all this fame, they realize that there's a lot more to life than just this, just judo. So he decides to travel where? To the Far East. Just like all the other Israelis when they fit the army, to India. And he went to India too. Why did he go to India? To search for something, for a net. And he heard that there was a guru, that in order to get into him, you have to prepare yourself. Several days, you have to fast, you have to go to a river and bathe yourself in there. He did everything just to be able to see. After everything was done, he was taken to a king. At the very end, he saw this guru. You know how they sit with a white, long beard. And the guru asked him, Sir, where are you from? Israel. From Israel? You should be ashamed of this. Go back. What do you think I teach you? All that I know and what I teach is from you. You have to come here and fetch this here. I know what you went through to see. Ridiculous what you did to see me. What do I have? What I have is from you. You have it in your own backyard. What are you going so far to the trouble of going? Yeah. What do you have to go elsewhere for? What do you have to go fetch all this nonsense elsewhere? You don't need this. You have a beautiful Torah. You don't need anything else. And that is one of the problems the Jews have. The Jews that don't know anything about their religion, they go looking elsewhere. They investigate Hinduism, Buddha, all these religions. Why don't you investigate your own faith first? You owe it to yourself, to your family. This is what they did for many years, for all these generations. Don't you owe it to yourself? Al tifnu elalim. Don't go searching elsewhere, in strange fields. Search your own backyard first. Let's quickly go through some of the mitzvot in Parashat Kedoshim. Parashat Kedoshim has many mitzvot, many important mitzvot. The first one is Lifnei Iver Lo Titen Michshol. Don't put a stumbling block before a blind person. You can understand that literally, but it also has more meaning. If you know something is a bad investment for someone, don't tell him. Go ahead and buy it. If you know that this car is a lemon, I'm selling to you as is. Even though by the law it's okay to say not for another two. You can't tell him that. If he's going to have $1,000 of expense, you're doing a disservice to him. If Na'iver, he's like an Iver, he's like a blind person. Be careful, don't put a stumbling block before him. Tell him all the problems that you are aware of. If you are aware of something that the other individual is not aware of, let him know. This is true by Shidduchim too, by the way. You have to be careful with Lashon Hara, of course, not to badmouth anybody. But if you're aware of a particular problem, this boy or this girl is totally not for you because of this major problem, and you can be tactful, but please point it out. You have to say it. It's not Lashon Hara. She or he has an incurable disease. You have to say it. They should say it too. But in case they don't, you have to let them know. You're asked. You can't hide that. Somebody wants to make a partnership. What do you say about him? He's partner. Is he honest? If you know for sure, now you have nothing against this. You don't have a bad experience with. And as long as you're honest. Listen, this guy never paid me. He never paid his bill. He always finds excuses. He always pushes it off. That's important. Why should this guy have a miserable time? Because you want to withhold information. Don't be so bad. Do the mitzvah, do the right thing, let him know.
What about the money?
Yeah, malshimim meaning something else. It's even worse. To give over to the authorities, to tell the authorities, the government, that's the person who's a mosed if he does. He gives over to the authorities his taxes. It's none of your business. That's a big averah. It's a tremendous disservice. The next mitzvah in Parashat Kedoshim is Lo Tisap Nidal. If you're in court, don't favor the poor man. The rich man comes to see the poor man. Don't say, no, he's poor, he must be right, the rich man is wrong. Sometimes we show favoritism because we think that he dresses nice, he would never do it. He would never lie. Lo tisap pnei dal. Just because he's poor doesn't mean that you should favorite him. Give him more credit. Treat everybody alike. Even though, of course, you feel bad for him, it doesn't mean that when it comes to a din Torah, when it comes to a case, a court case, that you should lean towards him just because he's poor. Chances are he's right. No, he may be wrong. Another mitzvah is betzedek tishpot amitecha. Judge your friend favorably, with justice. Rabbis learn out from this is Adam Nechasef, to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Don't rush to conclusions. Betzedek. Deliberate on it. Think about it. Maybe you are wrong. Your impression is not right. The tzedek tishpot amitecha, you're about to judge someone. Not in a court. To judge, when you look or you're observing somebody doing something, you might think, oh, this is what he meant, this is what he's doing. He's like this and he's like that. The tzedek tishpot amitecha, give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Judge them favorably. Lo telech rachil is to not go and gossip around, like many people do. That's all they do all day, is to hear the news and to share it with others. You're not allowed to do that. That's a tremendous avon, a tremendous sin, to gossip or to share with others what you heard. And that is part of Lashon Hara too. Lo telech rachil is worse than that because you're actually initiating, you're actually going to find out. Lashon Hara people have heard, they want to share it with others, whether it's good or not. Rachil, lalechet lerachel, that means that you want to go around searching for information to find out. People do that. Some people enjoy that. Lo telech rachil, that is a terrible avon because this is what causes machloket, hatred, sinat, problems, sin'ah, jealousy because of gossip. Lo ta'amod al dam re'echa. Don't stand by idly. See your friend. He's drowning and you can save him. He's in trouble and you can help him. Oh, I don't have time for this. No, chas v'shalom. You're not allowed to stand back. If you're able to help in any way, or you can call for help, you have to do it. As the Gemara says, there's some people who are called hasid shoteh. Have you ever heard that term? Yeah. He's hasid, but he's a shoteh, a foolish hasid. Who is a hasid shoteh? He sees a naked woman drowning in a swimming pool. He says, oh, chas v'shalom, I can't see. You fool. Hasid shoteh. The person's life is in danger. You're going to stand by and do nothing? People have opportunities from time to time to help. I remember we were going cross country from Los Angeles to New York by car. The car got a flat tire in Illinois. We're small kids. My parents are in the car. The car swerved out of the freeway into a grassy area. Baruch Hashem, the car didn't turn over. Didn't take long. A couple minutes, a station wagon pulled up, and I remember the license plate. This is in Pennsylvania. A father, 2, 3 teenage boys. Come on, boys, let's help them. Goyim, a real American, a real pure American. Real pure, nice people from Pennsylvania. They replaced the tire. I don't know if my father had AAA back then. I don't know if he knew what he was going to do next. But right away, as they're doing, somebody else on the other side of the freeway came out to find out if we had a beautiful, beautiful experience. I remember that after that, my parents were arguing in the car. They don't remember this. I remember. They were talking between them. My mother tells my father, so would you have stopped for someone else if he had a flat tire? My father said, I think I would. No, you wouldn't, my mother said. Well, obviously we wouldn't stop for everyone because we don't know. We're afraid, especially today. We think probably going to make a phone call. No, they're going to make a phone call. They're going to get some help, with little kids. It all depends on the circumstances. But you see a Jew, even if it's 1 o'clock in the morning, regardless, you have to stop to see if he needs help. That is one of the mitzvot, one of our requirements is to help out another. Not to sit back and do nothing. If he needs our help, then we can help. Lo tisna et achicha bilvavecha is another one. Don't hate your brother in your heart. Do not hold a grudge. Be forgiven. What good will it do for you? Keep it inside. You're burning mad. Are you better than Hashem? Hashem forgives. And if He forgives, you forgive. And if you don't forgive, then why should Hashem forgive you? Everything is midah keneged midah. Hashem says, He's forgiving, then I will be forgiven. You keep a grudge. You're not making the situation any better. What would Aharon do when 2 people were enemies? He would go over to Reuven and he would say, Shimon feels so bad that he offended you. He really wants to make you. Really? You know what? I also feel bad. He would go to Shimon and say, Reuven feels terrible about this whole, that he hasn't spoken to you for several days. Really impressed. He really feels bad. He would be touched by that. The 2 of them would meet the next day and they would hug and kiss him. All because of Aharon that spoke to each of them and convinced them that the other one really felt bad. That is, by the way, that's called Lasot Shlom Bayit. Make peace, that's a tremendous mitzvah. Don't hold it in your heart for long. You have no good will come out of it. It pays to be forgiven. That is the right thing to do. And the last mitzvah, which we'll cover for now, is every Jew has an obligation to rebuke another Jew. Tell him what's wrong with him. Depending, of course, what is happening, depending if that individual is a relative, a friend, or a neighbor. Depending if that Jew is a neighbor or a relative, we're obligated to do as much as we can to show him the way of the Torah. is actively involved. But even if you sit and do nothing, if people watch you, that in itself is a tochacha. People see how you live and how you behave. You are giving musar while not even saying a word. So of course applies to our children, applies to those who are closest to us, and we never should give up. And the reason why we should never give up is what the rabbis tell us, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zelazeh. We're all co-signers, we're all responsible. That is why we can't just not say anything. Okay, this 2 more points. We have the mitzvah of Acharei, one of the most important mitzvot in the Torah. You cannot love somebody as you love yourself. What it really means in mitzvah is whatever you don't want others to do, don't think of it. Just like you want people to be concerned about your well-being, be concerned about their well-being. In the same way you want to be treated, you treat others. You want a friend, you be a friend. That's what it means. It means to be respectful, be considerate of others. In the same way you would want them to treat you. That is the essence of the mitzvah of Acharei. That is why the rabbis tell us in Pirkei Avot, acquire a friend. You can really show this devotion. And the last, I think, mitzvah, the last point that we will cover is what Torah reminds us in Parashat Kedoshim, Ba'avdil etchem min ha'amim liot li. I've separated you from the rest of the world, from the rest of the nation, for an obvious reason. I want you to be my people. You are my children. I want you to follow the Torah and mitzvot. What the Torah is telling us, Hashem is reminding us that we have to stay away, we have to maintain it, because we belong to Him. And therefore, there is no need for us to pursue things like all the oyideoni. Towards the end of Parashat Kedoshim, you will find the Torah prohibiting going to seances, going to witches, and to all these people who are looking for crystal balls. I've separated you. You're a different people. You don't need this. You have me. So not only is going to these people dangerous, Hashem is saying you don't need it. You have me. Why did I separate? Because I want you to belong to me. You're mine. You don't need anybody else. Just look at the Israeli government today. They schnorr for money. You know what the word schnorr means? They beg. They want the millions of dollars from America, the billions of dollars. If they would turn to Hashem, Hashem would provide them with everything. Why should they have to rely on others? Beg for favors. We don't need anybody's sympathy. We don't need anybody's favor. All we need to remember is that Hashem is our Father. If we would follow the Torah mitzvot, He would give you all the rain, you would have all the water, you wouldn't get it, you would have enough food, you wouldn't have to import it, you would have oil too. We would be self-sufficient. Hashem says, don't go to all these, because I've separated you, so you should belong to me.